It's amazing. For as many flat surfaces as you have, there's not many that I can put my cup.
It's because I stack
Stuff up. Where are the pigtails? No, he doesn't have pigtails.
Not tonight. Oh, the dogs are already.
Well,
You might as well let him in.
All right. Daryl says he's always watching.
Hey, Daryl.
Here, do you want to hold this?
I can.
Okay. This is how we'll do tonight. You have to draw and hold on to your thing. I'll be back. Hold on, I'm letting the dog. Where's Dylan? Come on. Come on.
So I have this EDO that I have in my head that I want to make that needed some. I think maybe I got inspired a bit because I picked up this Claire Wendling book at Lightbox and I got to meet her briefly, and she does a lot of gestural drawings for animals.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so it made me think, because I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Actually, have had this. There's a couple of I actually did this piece of reference, like it's been in my computer for like 2 years. So it's been in there for like 2 years, and I decided to go ahead and play with it. So it's just a basic idea that I like the the shape. So I just started with that. I'm not really trying to be completely accurate with it, but it's just having that gesture in the piece, that kind of lounging, kind of relaxed power,
Very cool.
So obviously.
But it may be time for you to put the headband on and you could stick your phone in.
What now? One of the, like a GoPro?
Like a GoPro. They had a GoPro. It just wasn't.
The GoPro, the one that we had though, didn't do high enough resolution. I mean, I'm not sure yet we've figured out a good resolution for all this, or a good manner of recording it so that it shows up in a good resolution. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know.
So we will get it though, eventually.
Slowly.
So it's a bit different than how we normally start. Normally I just start kind of randomly, but this time I had at least a shape to go by.
Yeah.
I started with just a gesture line. It's on the video. It'll show up on the actual high-res video. But I just basically started with just block shapes, just like you would normally with a figure drawing or something. Just kind of make, general guidelines and to keep it lively. I mean, unless you're doing a really beautifully rendered super figure accurate. To me it's always been better to just kind of be general with the layout so that it can have a little bit of play in it.
Ellie asked, will you do Inktober?
Well, I do Inktober. I actually probably won't be able to.
No.
Because there's a lot. I have a lot going on right now. I'm lucky to be able to do this actually. I have
You have a lot to do.
Yeah, some stuff that I'll really I want to share with everybody as soon as I can.
Right.
But I can't quite yet. So that's like that vague looking thing where you say you got this really cool project, but you can't talk about it other than to say that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you can say though. And you want to say something, but you just can't, and that's all you can say.
I know.
So I totally get the vague book thing. It's like you're desperate to share things because you're so happy that you're doing something new or something cool, but you can't.
Yes.
So it's just kind of your basic lion pose.
How was working on Carnival Row?
That was fun, actually. I got to work on it at the beginning when it was in pre-production. We were up in Toronto with Vince Prost, Sean Murray, Guy Davis, and Keith Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I got to work on it in post-production.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to do some tweaks and stuff. If you watch through the series, there's a particularly bad guy creature that is sort of a combination of me in terms of the head and Sean Murray in terms of the body.
Yeah.
And I think it worked really well together, those two things.
I liked it.
So.
I finished it all while I was working this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got sucked in after about it always takes me an episode or so.
I've not let myself get too into any thing to watch recently because
You've been working.
I've been doing too much, which is normally when I start doing audiobooks. But
that's true.
but I haven't like taken the time to like jump out and find any audiobooks yet either.
Yeah. I love the series too.
So, well, I guess they're coming back. I mean,
Yeah,
you got season 1. I'm kind of excited to see what they do with season 2. So
Well, you haven't seen to the end, so you don't know where it's going to go to.
I
do.
well, I did as soon as they dropped all of them. I watched the very last episode just to see if
Oh,
the creature
you
was
are so bad. God.
Spoilers mean nothing to me.
No, you don't. Who are you talking to? I assume she's talking about me. Or they are talking about me.
Oh.
Me. Oh, I'm Vicky.
That's Victoria. But
We're not going to give them any more information than that.
she is my
No.
manager and business partner and wife.
And wife.
So.
For a while.
So far.
So far? So far?
What?
All right, I'm out here.
You said for a while.
Later. Oh, been around a long time. We've been together.
Since 1988.
Yes.
You forget?
No, I didn't forget.
Yeah, you forgot.
No, I just tried.
You blacked it out.
Tired. Blacked it out. No. Let's see what you do in an hour.
Whatever I do in an hour is likely gonna change considerably. Usually everything, like I'll start things in the live feed, and then by the time I get to the end of it, they've changed a bit.
That is true. Then afterwards you'll do a little more.
Yeah.
J.R. Coffin. Vicky, you're a sweetheart. Always nice crossing paths.
Or is it somebody we've met?
It must be. I don't know everybody's tag name, so I must have been.
Well, you almost always are.
Oh, it says,
Almost always.
tell Alan he's a lucky introvert to have you.
This is true.
That is true. Greetings from the Philippines,
Oh.
Leo says.
Hello from the Philippines. I mean, to the Philippines, not from. See, I'm actually, this is different, again, like than I normally work. I usually don't go this far this fast. I normally will deliberate over things and at some point, like I'll just solidify it in my head, but I'll start with detail. Which you guys, I mean, if you've watched me doing this before, you've seen me do this many times where I'll just start with a detail and it sort of infects the page.
Right.
So.
We've met him a few times at Monster Boost.
Oh, okay, cool.
Someone else asked, did you go to Lightbox Expo and did you like it?
I did go to Lightbox Expo and I loved it.
Yes, it was very nice.
It was one of the most fun shows I've been to in a long time.
Mm-hmm. He is drawing from this reference, which is a cobbled together.
Yeah, it's just lion I found online. Might have been on. When I use reference, I most often, if I'm going to change it a bit, that's good. But if I feel like I'm going to stick close to the reference, or at least close enough that it might be noticed as a reference from that,
take your own photos.
then I either take my own photos or I go buy it at Shutterstock.
Yeah.
Because you can buy reference at Shutterstock,
yeah.
and you can use it for certain things.
Right.
Most of the time, the stuff that they sell, their licenses are for people to reproduce the reference in the work, like in ad work and things like that.
Right.
So you're pretty safe with it though, because if you're redrawing it, if you're actually turning it into a painting or something, you can purchase the reference. Usually it's like, I don't know, it's sometimes it's a few dollars sometimes for the pieces. Shutterstock's been one of the ones that I've gone to for certain things.
Greetings from Canada.
Oh, cool.
Greetings from the deep desert southwest.
The
from
desert.
Brazil. Greetings from Mars.
Oh, Mars. Mars is cool.
Sarcastic.
No, that's all right. Mars is great.
Sarcasm. And that was.
What?
I went and watched Downton Abbey with my mother today. We had to.
How was it?
It was good. It was very Downton Abbey.
How could it not be?
I know. I just like sitting on my sofa watching it Sunday nights.
I doubt this is going to end up looking much like a lion when I get to that point.
Well, it's like what you want it to look like, right?
Right. And I'm not sure that this will turn into EDO or not. It just depends on which direction it goes.
Oh my god. Drive me crazy.
It's a short trip.
I love you. Hello from Russia.
Hello, Russia.
Your everyday original or your EDO goes up on Monday,
Yeah.
which means I have to put it up tomorrow.
You can see the, like right now I have on my desk I have Claire Wendling, I have the 40 Days of Night, 40 Days in the Desert, Mobius. I actually have the first edition of this too, but I can't touch it because it's expensive, so it's in a bag somewhere. So I bought a second copy to be able to look at, and then got Beksinski up here too, and then some of the little
Skulls
bits and
stuff.
pieces that I like to look at, and another one I started earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Seems kind of low key tonight, or icing
No,
kind of.
there's a whole bunch of questions now. I have to go through them. Sorry. I am low key tonight. I apologize.
You're low key.
Oh, you're so funny.
That's borderline. That's bordering on a dad joke, isn't it?
Possibly. And someone asks, how do you get in contact with people who are working on TV series? I love to try to get an oil painting of mine into a background, but TV series is a prop.
You know what?
I know that.
That's not a getting into contact with people that I don't already have contact with is one of the questions that's really difficult to give a good answer with, because most of the people that I'm in contact with contacted me, and it's it's like trying to do concept work unless you like run into the director somewhere. It's impossible to talk to most of them.
Right.
Just like they're getting.
Well, and I don't know that you've ever had just a piece of yours in the background or anything.
I know people that have, like DeSantos has had a painting of his show up in the background in the movie before.
Right. Well, and I know Vince just did a painting, but he was working on the.
He was working
on it.
Yeah.
It too. Vince did. So he was working on the production of it, and they had him produce something.
Yeah. So it's not something that I've done. So you might have to reach out to somebody else who has had it happen before. But most of the time, getting work in the background in a scene, it seems to be more like just like an accident, like you get lucky, or that sort of thing. Unless, like I said, you happen to know somebody who's making a film,
Right.
or you're already in contact with the director.
Is that a Korean dash?
It is.
You're asking what pencil?
Korean dash 77.
Fixed pencil.
Fixed pencil 77 metal. 2mm. They also make a 3mm, which is nice too.
And you're on Strathmore medium weight
Just as regular Strathmore medium weight paper.
drawing paper.
Medium surface.
Yes.
I like medium better than I don't really enjoy the smooth surface as much as I used to, because I like making more texture now than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like drawing on the smooth surface because but it now I just let the texture of the paper help out a lot in terms of making a
Right.
you.
He will not complete the whole drawing within the live stream because the live
No.
stream is only an hour, and
Right.
so he'll work on this for as long as he likes the way it's turning out. He'll work on it the rest of the night.
Most likely the rest of the night. I have some other work to do too. So, but being as how it's
Yeah.
Saturday.
It is Saturday. He did work on the new Hellboy, but he did work. The gentleman he worked with on the new Hellboy, he worked with on Star Trek Beyond a couple of years earlier.
Yep.
And that gentleman we met through. He had bought some of your pieces
Through
from a
Facebook.
gallery. Well, no, from a gallery first.
Was it? Oh.
Mm-hmm. A gallery in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and then he contacted us through Facebook for a commission, and then it kind of rolled into other things from there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever experience overthinking while drawing?
All the time. I overthink everything all the time. I have to go through and many times we've talked about this in a previous thing where I'll go sometimes 2 or 3 days of being frustrated about what I'm working on because I'm either I'm thinking it or overthinking it, trying to figure out whether or not it's something that's worth doing or it's something that I've done before. Am I just repeating myself? And I'll go through a period of time doing that until I resolve those questions, or until the idea just presents itself in a way that is strong enough that it negates that part of it,
Right.
the overthinking part of it. The live stream has been good because it just sort of makes me, no matter how I feel or think, I'm just starting with something.
You gotta draw.
And actually, I've actually liked a lot of the stuff that's come out of the live stream uh, better than I thought I would because of it just starting. Sometimes and being and having to describe what I'm doing at the same time, becoming more conscious of it. It changes things a bit. It's a different way of working.
Shit. You know what we were supposed to do?
What?
We were supposed to go out earlier this week.
Oh, that's right. We said we were going to go out on at like 1, but we didn't.
Is it
forgot.
Saturday? It is Saturday.
It is Saturday.
Damn. I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. I was at the movies. It's my mother.
It's your mom's fault.
We'll blame it on her. She'll never know.
Right.
No. No, it should have been mine. I should have made a note in my phone to remind me. How do you make large, even patches of dark with graphite?
Well, you can either build it up slowly, which takes a long, long time.
Yes.
By just doing gradations, going over it and over it.
Now,
and over
that gesture he's doing very large gestures, but really it's very,
like, yeah,
it's
just,
very, 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 very tiny.
Building it up
long.
with like that over the whole course of hours and days and months and years.
Yes.
Until you build it up, or you can use like powdered graphite, and which I've done before.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can. It doesn't have to be tight. It doesn't. If depends on, like, you can scrub graphite in and make an area dark, but it really destroys the surface
Kills
of the
the
paper.
tooth, yeah.
And it makes it high gloss. So you have to know that that's going to happen if that's the way you do it. If you want a velvet texture, you have to build it up slow.
Right. Like your Stillborn King.
Yeah.
Or the Wormwood prints that I put in today.
Yeah, because
that background
if
is
you
all
want
like that.
if you want the texture to come through, then you work lightly.
I'm gonna zoom in.
You just kind of build it up slowly. And then you even it out as you go.
It just takes a long, long, long time.
And then at the end, you have to go back and, like, it might look blotchy, and you have to go back and essentially even out the surface.
That's usually about the time that I look at you and go, "Oh my god."
Well, it's that process of eating the elephant. You know what I mean? Where you have to. It's a lot to do, but you have to. If you're going to do it, you just have to start doing it.
Once you start doing it,
Yeah.
I think when you did the Storyteller, which was the crow-headed guy in the jammies holding his coffee cup, you had started that piece. You had a significant part of it done. It was at least halfway done, and that's when you looked at me and were like, because it was on gessoed board.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, this is going to take a lot longer.
Well, it was because the gesso bites the graphite differently than paper does. It takes a lot longer to control it for me. Because the lines are automatically a little bit darker because of the way it bites the pencil.
Yeah.
Because of the way the tooth of the gesso picks it up. There's some surfaces that you can do it. You can still make it happen. It's just that some of those surfaces are more, or they either work with you or work against you the whole time. And a gessoed surface gives you a really good effect, but it works against you most of the time.
Right.
Just like the clapboard kind of works against you a lot, for certain things.
It'll
do it. It'll give it up, but it takes a fight,
We've got people from Nigeria and Perth.
Oh, that's awesome.
Western Australia.
That's awesome.
North Carolina.
Well, that's where Daryl is, isn't he?
Different person.
That's cool too. North Carolina. I've lived in North and South Carolina at different points. Charleston, I lived for a brief period.
I do more in ink than pencils. Because they fade away. How do I avoid that?
How do you avoid the fading away?
Yeah.
Graphite doesn't really usually fade unless it hasn't been fixed, because it doesn't just, I mean, if it falls off the paper, that can happen, I guess. But graphite's super stable in terms of its longevity. It's one of the, I mean, pen and, like ballpoint pen will fade like crazy.
Right.
But an ink obviously is very black. It goes jet black. But like I say, if you spray fix graphite, it's usually pretty stable. It's not really light sensitive as far as I've seen.
Well, unless you stick it where the sunlight's coming in.
Well, I mean, I guess anything can be burnt out if you put it
Right,
in direct
right.
sunlight, under a magnifying glass or something. But
Right. How do you draw stars at night? That's usually when you leave the paper.
That's
right?
usually when you draw around the white bright spot. You use the white of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Explain that. Sorry, we kind of talked over.
Well, I mean, you have to have either you use an electric eraser to erase a bright spot into the graphite, or you draw around the white spot, or you add white to the board. You can do that too.
But you don't like adding white.
I don't
to the
like
board.
to add because it stands out so much. It's noticeably different than the other whites in the board when you add white on top of graphite.
Yeah.
So in order for that to work, you have to play with the medium a bit more. I'm sure you could do it. You know what I mean? Because I've added oil on top of graphite, but you have to make sure that that you do it all over the whole piece so that it looks unified.
Right.
Or else it looks like one part stands out more than another. Let me grab something and show you real quick. You can keep it on that.
Okay. I'm going to steal his chair. Oh, I don't have a chair.
Coming back.
When did I have? Oh, I'm going to have to move.
I'm back.
Ah.
See?
Ah.
So this is oil on top of graphite. The
I
darkest
need
parts, the darkest parts of it are oil. All this is oil. The dark parts in here are oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back over it. Once it dried, I went back over it and polished it with graphite so it would still have that silver look. Which I don't know if you can see. If you go from an angle, you can see that it's still got a really nice reflection on it. I mean, it's almost like a mirror. It's like a silver mirror.
You can't see it with the other one, but that's all right.
Well, I can if I do this probably.
Oh.
Yeah. But it works to a good effect. I mean, and this is clayboard, and when you polish graphite on just bare clayboard, it gets really black anyway.
Right.
And then you pull out from it with
the
an
white
eraser.
part is
That's
just the
white
color of the board,
yeah.
right? That's just
now
the
I
board.
could seal this again, or I could seal it with like a medium, and then go back on top of it. And if I start putting a white in, though, I have to make sure to incorporate it in all the whites of that show, or else it'll look very, very weird.
I got you. What is it that you want? She left.
She left. We had a kid walk in and go, oh, and say
I
something.
don't exactly know
what
what
she
that
wanted.
was.
But anyway, that's kind of an in progress piece.
What
too.
kind? That's powdered graphite and regular graphite, right?
Yeah, it's powdered graphite, regular drawn graphite, subtracted with
like
erasers.
Cretacolor graphite. I think is what we.
Yeah, and oil or the dark. And this circle is I scratched in with a needle. I just made an ellipsis and scratched it in with like a needle or an X-Acto maybe.
You can't see. Wait, hold it up there. There you go.
So this part.
That's the white of the board too.
Yeah, that's the white of the board.
Very cool.
Yeah. Ow.
Oh my God, yeah, don't roll over my foot. I'm going back to other questions. Do you have advice on how to get out of a creative slump or art block? Your work is always so beautiful.
Oh, thank you for that. In terms of like a slump,
Oh, isn't that what your inspiration versus discipline?
well, kind of, yeah. I had a post on Muddy Colors about inspiration, working with inspiration versus working with discipline, and how they sort of kind of both have to kind of work together most of the time. But specifically, the way that in the past, when I've had like time where I've like just didn't know what I wanted to do or couldn't think of anything to do, that's when I tried to study, and I would try like to do educational things where I would jump into a different medium just to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would sculpt for a bit, where I would use watercolor, or I would do studies of hands, drawings of skulls or whatever, just to play. And then usually almost every time that I do something like that, the piece that I'm working on leads me into something else. So
Just if I ask, how do you find the image in the chaos on that piece? Probably that one.
On this one, I have to, because I started with the definite thing, that's something essentially that I have to overcome in terms of finding more chaotic and different kinds of imagery and different kinds of shapes in it.
Right.
But what I have to do is just not let this part that I've done become so precious to me that I can't draw over it and draw through it.
Right. Yes.
Because even if it ends up being a good line drawing, if it doesn't suit what I need to be able to play with it and just make it into whatever and erase. I've erased major sections of things that
You paint it out too.
Yeah, I'll
have
paint
this
over
whole painting almost all the way done, and I come back and all the background's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and it helps to let yourself just sort of make some random marks every now and then. If you mess something up, it's your piece. You'll be able to fix it. If you drew it once, you can draw it again. It's anything that you can accidentally do. Eventually, if you keep playing with it, you'll be able to purposefully do as well. I can purposely do some things that are sort of random, making things that will encourage different types of movement and shape in something. Like this one's a bit different than the other ones that I do.
I know, but I kind of like him.
So
I don't know what's going on with that head yet, but I think it's cool.
What's going on with the head yet is undecided.
Looking, yes.
It is, yeah. Well, I like the whole, this. I have a Sphinx kind of thing that happens, and I have a lot of photographs that have people in Sphinx poses and things like that.
What was your first art job in your career?
My very first art job was working at a silk screening place for T-shirts. But my first illustration job was working. I did Car Wars. I did game illustration.
Steve Jackson games.
A long time ago. Yeah, and I worked on cars and tanks and things like that, which I only did briefly because I hated it and I never did it again.
Yeah. When you compose a reference image in Photoshop and then you draw it, do you ever end up liking it more than the reference?
You mean liking the reference more than the drawing?
No.
Or the drawing more than
reference.
I hope that's what happens usually, is that you like the piece you do better than the reference.
Because the reference is just vague ideas.
Yeah. The objective is always to like what you do better than just the assemblage of reference that you've taken it from.
Right.
There should be, to me, and unless your nature, your penchant is for doing photorealism, which that's cool too. It should always be to deviate, from the reference, just to get that essential quality that you're looking for, like the pose or whatever, and pull it into what you already do, or the part of you that you're trying to incorporate it into.
Right. Thanks for the response on the graphite. Do you advise I stick to just art or do more because I'm an architect?
The best answer to that question for me is you have to pick the parts that you like to do that make you want to do it. If you like doing other things like sculpting or building architectural solutions and things like that in real world, do that too if you want. It all part of the post that I had on Muddy Colors was the fact that most art questions they start with "it depends."
Right. The answer always starts with "it depends."
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the only answer you can get.
Well, it certainly means that most of the questions people ask have more than one answer.
Right.
Because you art
might start down a path and then go,
right.
This is not what I wanted to do.
It's so individual. Like for me, the impressionistic way of painting doesn't suit me to the point where I'm satisfied by trying to do it. Whereas I see other people who do it very well, and you can tell it's just their nature.
Right. Right.
It may be that they've had to practice it and learn how to do it, but it's something that they had in themselves that they that.
I'm reminded of that quote from Joe versus the volcano.
What? Which one?
The What about clothes?
Oh yeah, you asked me, what kind of clothes should I wear, and that's like asking me who you are.
Right.
And it's taken me my whole life to find out who I am, and now I'm tired.
It's one of my favorite quotes.
But yeah, if you find those other things to be fun, anything that makes it fun for you to jump back into it, that takes off some of the stress of the hardest thing to do is to sit down and say, I'm going to do this piece perfectly, or I'm going to do this piece and it's going to be almost everything I do has a built-in room to fail at first, so I can play with it. I tell myself that no matter what, if this doesn't work, I'll just throw it away and start over.
It's true.
You know?
I have to get your Everyday Original up tomorrow. By tomorrow evening, and
We'll see. And this is another opportunity for you to learn.
No. It's just I know that either this one will be it, or it'll be something
another
completely
one.
different.
Yeah,
It'll be
I'll either
done.
start another one tonight, or it'll be this one, most likely.
Yes.
But
who is your favorite artist or illustrator?
I have and have many favorite artists. I mean, I it's obvious from my desk that I love Beksinski, and from the fact that I've let it influence my work to a degree. And I grew up looking at Frazetta and Geiger, which is that's the fantasy and horror elements of the stuff that I love to do. I love the Nicolas Samore, I think his name is. It's a painter who's out there now. I love. I think the guy's. It's hard for me to pronounce some of the names, but like Augustino is his first name, I believe, and he does these beautifully surreal, visionary kind of works that are like also borderline disturbing.
I guess that ties in with this next person's questions. Top 2 Instagram influences, which are you don't really think of them as Instagram.
I don't. Yeah, and I don't really have anything. I have a lot of people that would compete for the top 2. There's not one or two that I could look at and go that I only go to these places most often.
Yes.
Because I look at so many different things. I mean, if you just look at if you look at my inspiration stuff that I keep on Pinterest, I mean, there's like Dennis Forkas Kustromitten over here. There's like what's his name? Soyev is this guy who does digital work that looks like black and white, like pen and ink mixed with like a grease pencil kind of thing. But
do you like Crash McCurry's drawing style?
I love Crash McCurry's drawings. Crash McCurry is one of the. I met him at Lightbox, by the way, and he is like probably the guy who's most responsible for the fact that I wanted to do concept art, because before I didn't know this until Ian told me this at this show. Crash McCurry is the first guy that ever had the title concept artist in a movie.
Artist, right.
And it was the first one that I ever saw in Fangoria magazine, who did he did all these beautiful renderings of dinosaurs
for
Jurassic Park.
In the 90s.
And I just looked, I was like, I love that. And
you can draw, and people will use them in the movies.
And still, it took me years to get to a point where I actually started looking for concept work, and but Crash McCurry, I love his work.
All right, which Beksinski book is this?
That's drawing. It's the ones that are made. I think these are of Japanese publication, and there are 3 or 4 in the volume set. There's drawing and painting and photography, and I think maybe one more, but I can't remember if there is 4 or not.
Yeah.
But then there's the Polish versions too there are 4 versions of.
Right. Are you naturally patient, or did you train yourself to become patient when you're drawing?
I had to essentially train myself. When you say patient, I had to train myself to become patient and to focus. And that comes from, at one point, being so inattentive that I was diagnosed like ADD.
Right.
And I was on Ritalin for a while, which helped a lot. And then I decided that I didn't like being on, drugs, or at least a drug. I didn't like being on Ritalin because I started liking being on Ritalin. And that pissed me off.
Oh, right.
So I decided to get off of it. And so I started doing martial arts, which teaches you a lot of patience and focus too, especially if you start off as not good at it as I started off, and then you just you keep doing it, right?
There would be some people who argue with that.
Well, but I definitely had to train in patience. But at some point, I also realized that I was also very introverted and that it was natural. It was something that I had been avoiding, but it was actually natural for me once I started doing it because uh, I work almost all night, and I like the quiet. I'm one of those. There's a name for it. The people who love nighttime.
Yeah.
And I like walking at night in pitch black. You know, I mean, luckily we're in a place where I don't like walk off a ravine or anything. But
No.
I just like walking and doing things at night, and I just like that quiet, patient, and calm time.
All right, we're halfway through.
Yeah.
So our website is alanwilliamsstudio.com. That is also our YouTube channel at Alan Williams Studio. This will be up under the stories for 24 hours, and then we'll go to our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/Alan Williams.
So
And that's about it.
it's gonna cut like
You want
that.
to cut them off?
Well, it will be. It'd have to. I can't go any further.
You're like right at the edge of the paper, too.
Yeah. So
I do all the framing and matting, so
I know that makes it kind of a pain in the butt.
likes to
We'll
make
just.
it tight.
I just can't be restrained by paper edges, by borders.
You even had pieces where you've taped the paper together
I have
to figure
done
out what you're going to do. It was
But
never
then I've
a
had
finished
to.
piece.
So
but
what I might do with this in the end, after like the thing tonight, is I could scan this in and then could print it out smaller and then redraw it on a smaller piece of paper. I mean, redraw it smaller on a bigger piece of paper so it has more space around it. Which I might do. I don't know. I might not. It depends. That's one of the things I do when I concept stuff is I'll scan it in and print it out lightly and then draw back over my original my print and then do that 3 or 4 times until I get it like
Where
played
you
with
wanna go.
because I like the the physical hand drawing of it, but I don't like
Right.
having to go back and plot every major point again. So that's why I print it out lightly and then play with it. And then at the end of it, though, if I need to do a rendering, then I'll take what I have and then redraw it from scratch based on the new
right.
the studies basically.
Yes, yes. Do you have a big studio place?
It's the biggest that I've ever had. It's like
It's
what is this?
12 by 25?
Yeah, I mean I think it's
Stuffed to the brim.
it is because like you increase the amount of things you keep in your studio when you have a bigger studio. And I've never been one to have what you would call a beautiful studio, just a functional studio.
Mostly functional.
Well, functional for me.
Functional, just
It's
not
like
able to.
The fact that you can't walk through it is not my problem.
I just have to get the dogs to the backyard.
Well, you can get to the backyard. There's a path.
There is a path, yes.
Right.
I should turn around and show them, but it's a little scary.
I don't care. I don't think there's anything out that you can't see.
Anything out we can't see?
No.
Are you a fan of Miles Tevis?
Yes. I like. I'm pretty sure I know the name. There's a couple of Miles that I like that are artists. So, but I'd have to look up the name to make sure that I'm thinking of the right person.
You're amazing, Alan Williams?
Oh, you're very kind.
That's not me. I didn't say that. I can't tell you that very well. I'm teasing. You are amazing. I think you're amazing. You're wonderful.
Sweet. And thank whoever said that. But that's very kind.
Have you ever worked with Zach Dunn?
I have not. I don't know. Not that I know of, unless I worked with him in a movie. Because I work remotely, so I by proxy have worked with a lot of people that I don't know personally.
Yeah,
or by
we'll
name.
go to a show and you go, "Hey, I worked on that too."
Yeah, I mean,
work on
but
that?
physically, I have not been in the proximity. I've worked. Let's see. The first job I ever worked with, I worked with Peter Koenig, Keith Thompson, Guy Davis, and Francisco Ruiz, and Wayne Barlow. That was for the Mountains of Madness thing that we didn't get to make at the time. And then let's see. I worked with Neville and Simon, Neville Page and Simon Lee. And also with Alphonse de la Torre, Mauricio. I could name the people I've been in the rooms with because I've only worked on certain jobs. Like when we worked on Carnival Row, it was Sean, Andrew Murray, Vince Proce, Guy Davis, Keith Thompson, and myself. There was a huge group of people we worked with on Pacific Rim. I think and some of those guys I can't remember their names. Some of them I could never
because they weren't.
because I was only there for about a month in the beginning, but
Yeah.
or when they moved to.
Someone asked how we met, and was it art related?
It was art related. We met at an art show at a convention, And the first thing she ever said to me was, "Why aren't there any prices on your art?"
Because there weren't any fucking prices on your art.
That's true. And that's kind of like her attitude was like, "Well, you're not going to sell it if you don't put any prices on it." And so she made me go through my artwork and price it. That was our first interaction.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Why was it bad? It's sort of like just established, or kind of the relationship at that point. And we were together pretty much from that day forward, though.
Yes.
Except for that one date you had with someone else before we actually.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Technically, was it a date?
I don't know. You went home for Christmas. You said it was a date. It didn't hurt.
I heard
It didn't
you say
hurt.
that under line.
It didn't hurt.
Sounds like it hurt. How do you How do you manage back or neck pains from working long hours at a drawing desk?
My desk, if you notice, is actually set pretty high, and if you can see how sometimes I slump in my desk and I'll put my feet up. Other times I change my desk angle a lot. Like now I could actually I lowered it for tonight, but for the last few days I've had it as a standing desk.
Oh, that is true.
You know?
Well, that and you also will stop. You don't sit here for 6
well,
hours.
I stop usually at after about 2 or 3 hours, and I go in the other room and I do kata.
And you stretch, right?
Yeah. So I do that, and then sometimes I'll stop and I'll do like a cardio workout, or I'll just go walk for like 2 or 3 miles. That's about 2.5 miles I walk right now at night. It's about 2.5. I do like this one block and then 2 of the other blocks. So it's about 2 miles. Yeah.
How did you do the background of the Wormwood prints that you posted not long ago? It's like
there was a crescent moon, and then
Stillborn King.
it's just
that whole gradation.
Yeah, that's actually just done like I was talking earlier. We were talking about the fact that you take the pencil and you just build it up slowly. It just takes a while to do it.
That you can't do in a night.
Right.
You got to get.
Usually it takes a while to do something like that. Takes more time than like most of the rest of the drawing combined, because creating a uniform, even graphite pattern tone is
right.
You have to be really dedicated and have like something like a good audiobook on, and you're like
right, do it, because there's been times I've walked in and you're like, I started this, now I can't stop it.
Right, which is why I'm erasing it off of here right now.
Yeah, you can't get that done in a night.
Right. It takes a while. That's probably one of the most time-consuming things to do in graphite is an even tone across a large area.
Yes.
Which, if you notice, I don't do that often. I do it every now and then, but not that often.
You're
right. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I actually paint faster than I draw.
That's true. Do you have any desk advice? Like to purchase a desk? Not really.
Only if you can manage to get a desk that you can lower and raise to be both a sitting and standing desk. Yes. That's the best thing possible to do. Yeah. Try to view your work straight on. Whether you work that way or not, make sure that when you think about it and what you're doing, you have to look at it straight on. Because if you work at an angle and your desk is flat, this will look elongated. You won't notice it until you stand it up, right? You won't notice it until you stand it up, but it'll look differently proportioned if you work on it like this, or if you're working vertically. Sometimes I work on my easel when I draw. But one of the things I do, and this is the benefit of having that camera up there, is that I can see what it looks like straight on by my computer monitor over there that has the image on it.
Right.
So I can look at it and see proportionally, because if you drew a human that looked proportional and you're looking at it at a 45-degree angle, it's not going to look right when you do this.
Right. Right.
That's a big thing that you have to watch out for, because that's why most people like traditionally ateliers, they have them drawing on an easel.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the more you could, theoretically, if you're going to end up painting as a living, the more you do on an easel, the better it is.
I can remember when you figured that out. That one piece that you went.
It's like, why does this look squat? Because it's long when you look at it like this, but when you turn it up, it was like,
I do. I remember that piece. You're like, well, this just looks weird.
There's a lot of stuff I had to figure out on my own because I never went to school. Because I ended up not going to school for most of what I learned.
Do you have an 8B in that pencil?
This is an 8B.
8B.
Yeah.
It's an 8B. How do you avoid shininess with graphite? And then I'll come back to Giuseppe's.
Okay. You can, one of the things you can do is build up graphite slowly so
Yeah,
you don't burnish
press
the
too
paper.
hard, right? Nick said don't press too hard.
The other thing you can do is if you're trying to get rid of all the shininess in graphite, you can, what I do if I want to make it look universal matte, is I mix a little bit of ultra matte medium with water and I spray it on top like a fixative through an airbrush.
With an airbrush. Yeah, someone
Yeah.
asked earlier if you've ever used an airbrush.
Yeah, well, I use it, but I use it for putting fixative on pieces
Right.
more than anything else.
Right.
So,
All right. Giuseppe's question: how do you manage fear of insecurity from the art path?
I'm not. I managed, and I know what you're talking about. I have fear and insecurity are partners to working in art. All right, they're there. Just like ego is always present. You just make it small, right? You realize that everybody
really
has
good.
a little bit of fear, and everybody has insecurity about
And
what they
sometimes
do.
the fear gets giant.
It does, and sometimes it actually can overwhelm you. And how do I manage it? I just keep in mind that even no matter how much I feel, other people are doing work that feel it just as much as me. They're getting it done because they've decided not to listen to that voice. It's like I tell my kids, it's like having these two big dogs that you have to walk all the time. You can never fully tame them, but you have. It's like that song. You can't really tame them, but you can keep them on a leash. And as long as you have them, you understand that they're going to be with you. You can guard against it a little bit. Just like fear. Fear is another dog that walks with you on a leash, and you just have to keep it. Mm-hmm. You understand that if you keep it close, though, and you understand it, that it's not as much to be afraid of.
And really, when you look at today's world, if it's the fear and insecurity you're talking about, job security, that it's not.
Well, the thing that I constantly go through. What if nobody likes what I do? What if I'm doing something that somebody else is doing? Stuff like that. I know I wave my hands a lot, but and it's just it's that I've said it before like this. It's like the Bruce Banner Hulk thing from the Avengers. It's not that I don't. It's my secret is that I'm always afraid, but I keep doing it. I'm always intimidated. I'm always frustrated, but I keep doing it because once you realize you're always going to be those things, they matter less. It's like having a I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. I know.
Yeah, there are people who live their life with certain kind of infirmities, and once you accept a certain kind of infirmity, you live with it. It becomes a part of you, and it's not a consideration anymore, right? Or at least for some people, they can deal with it that way, right?
Right.
So fear is one of the biggest things you do have to face as an artist. Not just fear of judgment from other people, but there's fear of failure, fear of not being able to, which is part and parcel for not making a living. Having there's just a lot of things that go along with it, but and in the end, it's that I think a lot of people in a lot of different fields feel. Like a doctor must feel fear of making mistakes. You know what I mean? Not that I'm equating being an artist to being a brain surgeon or anything. They're different types of intensity, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they still, both of them probably have fear, and that would probably make a doctor a better doctor, right?
A little bit of fear.
If you have a little bit of like,
don't touch that.
I want, this is a person I'm dealing with, right?
Right.
I don't want to damage them, right? I think it's, for us at least, in the end, you can look at the work and go, it may cause me fear, but it's not going to hurt anybody if I don't get this right away. I can take time to do it wrong. Mm-hmm. I can make the mistakes I need to make. Whereas, that's why I don't think I would be a good doctor, because I need to screw things up a little bit before I make them better. Doctors don't have that option.
Yeah. It's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah,
I like that his paws don't look necessarily like paws; they almost look like hands.
Yeah. He's not really a lion.
Yeah. He's just in the lion pose.
He's lion-ish.
Lion-ish. Oh.
And I say he because he sort of has a mane. It could have just as easily have been a female lion.
I love that book, Ish.
Ish is a great book. That's actually how I got made to drawing. Mm-hmm. Our daughter was because, she had, that the kid reservations about drawing, like because her dad draws a lot. And she was like, I'm not going to be that good. And I'm like, but you have to start the way that I did, which is summed up really well in the book Ish. You don't have to make a lion. You have to make something that looks lion-ish.
Right.
That's how you start. Everything starts off as ish. It doesn't have to be a painting. It's just got to be painting-ish.
Yes.
You don't have to be professional. Just be ish.
Right.
And then eventually, it all works out. It gets better with practice. Everything pretty much does. So.
I swear that this next question, the shiftlets just answered this, and I know exactly what you're going to say.
What?
When was a moment in your career that you felt like I made it as an artist?
Huh. What do you think I would say?
I would
Go ahead.
think you would say, I don't think I've gotten there yet.
I never have a moment where I thought that.
No, you never
Or
know.
I don't consider that. Actually, I've never thought to myself, this is it, I'm doing it.
Woohoo.
I don't. And I've never had that feeling. It's just, I have that feeling I have feelings in individual pieces of work where I go, this is working the way I want it to. But
never like I made it.
No.
Because you know why?
Yeah.
I just read an article. It was a really good article.
It's not something that occurred to me to think,
It was about a writer, and they were talking about it, and it's like, there's always an appreciation, like when people like the work, or they
Right.
compliment the work, or they say something, because it's never like, yeah, I'm doing this. That's not what the article
No,
said.
it's like, because, it's like, it's funny because it sort of relates to when Vicky's sister Ruth would occasionally say things to me, like she would look at something I did and she would say, oh, you must be very, aren't you proud of this? And I was like, no, what do you mean? I don't understand. Because it's not pride that I feel when I do work. It's a sense of having achieved, like getting to a destination that you wanted to go in, even though the journey went a lot in many different ways than you expected it to.
It was a big old mess.
Well, yeah, and once you get to that destination, really, all you can do is look at the next one.
Right.
It's like you get to the top of one mountain, and all you see are the bigger mountains that were behind it.
Right.
And then you go, well, do I like getting to the top of the mountain, or do I like all of it? Do I like going down the hill, going back up the next?
Right.
And for me, it's the process. I really
Right.
enjoy doing this, which is another reason why I don't try to do things fast unless I have to for a contract. I take as much time as I can on my work because I enjoy being in it and doing it and the time that it takes.
We like to go back and forth with that. I tease him because I'm like, oh my God, get it done early.
Well, because
for me, if you're doing a piece for me.
Because when you put a time constraint on something, it's usually based on how much can you make based on an hourly rate. When I do something, it's based on this is how I like to spend my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's just a slight difference in the way that, as a business person, you have to think about the business side of it that way.
Yes.
Because, you can't spend 100 hours on a piece that you're going to get paid 3 hours worth of work for.
Right.
Right.
Your hands keep flipping in front of the camera.
I know. Because I'm gestural and I'm
You
emotional and emotive.
Just keep drawing, damn it. God. Drive me crazy. Drawing is coming out amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's a never-ending journey, and there's doctors also do that. But shh.
What now?
Android Replicant said doctors also do that. Shh.
Oh.
Just don't tell anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, it's not like you come out of med school going, I know what I'm doing.
Well, I think that probably,
shit over.
Probably doctors have so much stress because people don't allow them to make mistakes, but they're human and they can't avoid it, and it's just not something that humans can do, is not make mistakes. You know what I mean? And
I just don't ever want the mistake to be on them. Of course not, but still, what can you do? All right, we have 10 more minutes.
So,
our website is at alanwilliamsstudio.com, and our Patreon page is patreon.com/Alan Williams. We'll be revamping that in the next 2 months.
Yep.
And then, our YouTube channel is at Alan Williams Studio.
we have some pretty cool announcements coming up, and
Yes.
This is me. I'm doing the vague book thing again.
Yeah, someone just asked, what is your next project you're excited about?
What I am very excited about right now is something that I can't tell you exactly what it is, only that I think it's cool.
Fun.
Yeah. Actually, a couple of things going on right now, but that's...
I know, you got, I could tell you. Your kids love art.
They do love art. Duncan he likes to draw. He just likes to draw in a more, he's like a little bit more abstract. He more likes to do storytelling, and he also likes game design. Maeve loves to draw and paint. She already has a good sense of color. Actually, my daughter won the Google Doodle competition last year for the state of Mississippi. So she got to be the Google, thing. She got a little party from Google. They flew down and like gave her a little award. It was really cool.
It's fun.
They both have an appreciation for art, though.
Yes, because we go, damn it, appreciate this.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing
they
was,
also have no clue. Is like
I make it look easy for them. They look at like one of the things that we've had to deal with is that because I love doing what I do, it makes it look like you don't have to do anything but what you like to do all the time.
Right.
And my hope for them is that my hope for them is that they do find, what they want to do and find out that that they love to do it. But there's still things that we have to do and things that I have to do that, sometimes it's a little hard to teach that part of it. Life doesn't let you get away with just doing what you want to do all the time. I don't think. At least some people it does.
I used to tell you, some part of the job, part of the job has to suck.
Well, that's the part that discipline, right?
Right, but you have to do it even if there's something having in everything.
Even in a piece that you're inspired with, it gets to a point where it becomes labor because if you're inspired to do this big piece, but you're like on the 7th hour of rendering fur, that can't be as exciting as the first hour of rendering fur. Right. Now, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. It depends.
Thank you. Go check out muddycolors.com. Well, it wasn't up today. It was up yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday seems like a long time ago.
Part of the reason
when I go out shopping. I don't like shopping.
Part of the reason I have the style that I have is I let my mind go off on different tangents and wander quite a bit. So, and that's part of what the post is about on Muddy Colors. Is
these his eyes?
Maybe.
It looks like food dog a little bit. But
there's actually 3 sets of faces in here right now.
That's why I see that.
There's
I keep
one
changing.
Here. There's kind of a skull shape here. There's a face here.
Ooh,
there might be another.
Oh, it is a skull shape. Oh, I kind of like that.
I'm kind of happy that you kind of like it.
I do.
See,
my favorite part is that the paper isn't big enough for you to finish out that song.
I know.
Heather from the Philippines.
Oh, hello from the Philippines, or to the Philippines.
I'm just joking with you about the paper.
I know that. But I probably will transfer it over to a bigger piece, or shrink it a little bit and draw it, and redraw it. But this is really different, though, for me. I normally don't except for when I'm doing concept work. I don't normally lay out a piece for myself like this. I normally have it in my head, or I just start and find it like this. This I had no idea that I was going to do what I was going to do on this so far.
Or this one.
Or this one, yeah, which is just a sketch. That's how I sketch for myself. It's just, for lack of a better word, bare bones.
I get it, because it looks like bones. That's money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So.
Never take me shopping. I hate shopping.
Oh, I know you hate shopping. I don't think Maeve really likes shopping either, though.
Oh my God. Children.
I like shopping. I just do it from home.
Well, yes, I know that. You do like shopping. They want to know if you can compare the reference with the drawing.
Yeah. So, like I said, the intention is not to be... This was another painting that I played with for something else. And I had this idea, and I threw it on top of this particular photograph.
Uh-oh,
and
got 20 seconds remaining.
And so it becomes something new.
It does. Yeah. So we will see you guys next week. We should.
And thanks for showing up.
I know, that was quicker than I thought.
I know it.
I guess we started earlier.
Huh.
All right.
So, and this will be posted whether it turns into more or not. It'll be on my page.
All right. See you guys later.